So, where do we begin to put ourselves on the pathway to becoming a great manager or leader? Well, it all starts with two simple yet incredibly important words: ultimate responsibility. Now, what does ultimate responsibility really mean? When we stop and think about it, specific phrases might come to mind. Phrases or sayings like, if it's to be, it's up to me, the buck stops at me, you can have success or you can have excuses, but you cannot have both. One of my favourites. These are things that come to mind when we think about ultimate responsibility. And that's precisely what ultimate responsibility really means. You see, if a person decides on something and wants it enough and consistently decides to take enough actions and do it, they put a stake in the ground and say to themselves, I don't want to be good. I don't want to be average as a manager leader. I want to be great. I really want to be great. I want to be one of those people where in 2 years from now, and somebody's on a course just like this and someone asks them, can you think of a great manager or leader in your past? Your name immediately pops into that individual's heads. You know, that's what really great management and leaders are all about. If you want to be one of those individuals who forever changes the people around you and has a lasting legacy that you leave in a person's mind, then it really starts with ultimate responsibility. And it all starts with recognising that we cannot allow ourselves the luxury of pointing fingers and placing blame. We cannot allow ourselves the luxury of trying to rationalise things. We have to own everything that happens on our team, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we have to own all of that responsibility. And I'm not going to kid you, this can be a really heavy log to hold, but ultimate responsibility also means that there is no such thing as a bad employee. You might be sitting there thinking, hey, hold on a minute, James. I've had plenty of bad employees in my time, but think about this for a second. There really is no such thing as a bad employee. Now, what there is such a thing as a man or woman who was a hiring mistake. In other words, they were the wrong person for the role that they were hired. And if that's the case, it's our responsibility as managers and leaders to either get them into a position that they're better suited for, or alternatively get them out of the business or organisation so that they can go and find a role that's better suited for them. But do you know what? More often than not, it's not that they're actually a hiring mistake. And this is going to be news for some people. The real problem is they've yet to be adequately coached and mentored to succeed in the role they've been hired to do. And you know what? We own that piece of responsibility too. As managers and leaders, we have to take ultimate responsibility that everyone on our team knows exactly what they're doing, why they're doing it, and have a clearly defined plan that they have to follow, or high payoff actions and activities that they need to follow. Now, I remember many years ago I heard an excellent quote from a guy called W. Clement Stone. What he said was, the rate of the pack is always defined by the pace of the leader. So think about this. I remember years ago sharing this quote in one of the training courses I was running, and there was a guy on the course called Tim Dishner. He lived in somewhere down in London. And every time I've seen Tim over the years, he would come up and say, the rate of the pack is always defined by the pace of the leader. And I remember one day he'd stuck his hand out and he'd give me, the rate of the pack is always defined by the pace of the leader, James. I had this big smile on my face and I says, you know, Tim, I am really glad that you remember one thing from all that training that we did during that week with your company. And he said, James, you know something? It's way much more than that. When I first came to that meeting all those years ago, he says, I used to always look at the men and women on my team and I would ask myself, what's wrong with them? What is it they don't get? I ask them to do this and they don't seem to understand it. What is it they just don't get about these instructions? What's wrong with these people? Why can't they just do what I asked them to do? You know, I used to really struggle with what was going on. Why aren't they doing it? Why aren't they following instructions? Why aren't they learning the way they're supposed to be learning? And I really struggled with this concept for years and years until I came on that course that day. He said to me, you know something, James? He said, I could never figure out the answer to that question. But then you said that quote, the rate of the pack is always defined by the pace of the leader. And something changed. I stopped and thought about it. The more I thought about it, the more I began to realise that I was actually asking myself the wrong question. It was not about what was wrong with them, but really, what was wrong with me as a leader? What was I doing or not doing where they thought that was okay? What was I saying or not saying that was causing them to move away or not do what we were asking them to do? What is it that I'm doing or not doing that's causing them not to get it? What is it that I'm teaching or not teaching that's causing them not to learn and move forward? I could never figure out the answer to what was wrong with them, but I have always been able to figure out the answer to what was wrong with me. That one quote that you said that day changed the course of my management and leadership career. Now stop and think about that just for a second. What is it about ultimate responsibility, that concept, that really shifts an individual's mindset? What really changes when a person actually embraces the concept of ultimate responsibility? What you'll come to realise is that the biggest thing that shifts is a person's perspective. What they understand ultimate responsibility is, they take back control. When people don't accept ultimate responsibility, well, they think like a victim mentality, that everything happens to them, not because of them. They spend all their time sitting in their office managing, leading, and they're pointing fingers and they're placing blame and they're pointing this way or they're pointing that way. But they never point that way, they never point at themselves. They have developed a mindset and process that is steeped in victim thinking. When a person thinks like a victim, you cannot win and you cannot build anything, any strong foundation on victim thinking. Success and high performance will never support victim thinking. It just cannot sustain anything other than mediocrity or low performance. Empires have been built on a foundation of ultimate responsibility. Victims never win. Always remember, the rate of the pack is always defined by the pace of the leader.